When your digital document contains an image, you need to make sure that the information in that image is available to people who aren't experiencing your document visually. In most cases, this involves providing alternative text, usually shortened to alt text. This is a brief description of an image that is hidden from visual readers but available to people using certain assistive technologies. In most contexts, alt text can't be explored in the same way as the text in your document. Advice on character limits varies, but it's usually best for it to be under 100 characters. Alt text should be brief enough to comfortably read in one breath, like a haiku. Let's go over a few tips for how to write meaningful alt text while keeping it brief. Describe the purpose of the image. Consider your surrounding text. Don't repeat yourself. Create supplemental materials when necessary. What does it mean to describe the purpose of the image? A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but most of that wouldn't be relevant to your document. When thinking about how to describe your image, consider why you included it. If I'm including our logo at the top of my document simply to indicate that this was created by us, I'll most likely just name it in the alt text. If this is an internal document, I might abbreviate the name and just write WSSB logo. If this document is meant to be public-facing, I would write out the name. If I think there is a high possibility that this document is the first time somebody has heard of our school, I might want to describe what the logo is trying to convey with its visuals. Something like Washington State School for the Blind logo, a silhouette of the state with a dot over Vancouver and rays leading to the letters WSSB. If this document is about logo design concepts, I might also want to include the number of colors or the font selection. At that point, I probably have too much information for it to be reasonable to include all of it in my alt text. I need to consider my surrounding text. What information related to your graphic is already included in the surrounding text? If your document is about logo design, and you discuss the colors of this graphic in the paragraph it accompanies, you don't need to include descriptions of those colors in the alt text. If you're having trouble keeping your alt text brief, consider adding more information to your surrounding text. If you have a complex graphic like a chart comparing a set of data, you might be describing the most relevant information in the accompanying paragraph. But there is probably a lot of information available visually that you aren't going to describe. In this case, the best practice is to include a table of the same data alongside your graph. Give the image a brief description that directs the reader to the table. Don't repeat yourself. Repetition can be helpful in an educational setting, but don't overdo it. If the same image occurs repeatedly in your document, you probably only need to describe it the first time. If the same logo occurs on every page of your document, make sure it's only announced the first time by putting it inside a header or footer, marking the subsequent logos as decorative, or building them into your background. If you're using a shape that you've copied and pasted to make a pattern, having the same description on each individual instance would make for a confusing reading experience. If you have a list of words with accompanying icons representing each word, you can probably mark those icons as decorative. Putting the word in the icon's description just means that it will be read twice, which doesn't add any meaning. While the goal should always be for the document to be universally accessible on its own, sometimes it makes sense to create supplemental materials. That document might contain table data or long-form descriptions. This would most likely be necessary with a slide deck. See our PowerPoint playlist for more information.